It's 10 minutes to 8. You might remember in early November, I spoke to a bloke called Chris Grundy. Chris Grundy's no more or less than we are. We're all the same people, but he rang on the open line. I was talking about green slips, compulsory third-party insurance. He paid $3,587 on one of his trucks last year. Now he's been quoted at $5,000. Almost double. So he went somewhere else, same price. Basically, only $100 different. Now, I've talked about that. I've written to the Baird government about that. At the same time, I talked about this business of the transportation of waste. I spoke to a fellow called Philip Mineo who'd written to me. He moves general builders' waste from transfer stations in Sydney once all the recycled material has been taken out. The Queensland government scrapped its Environment Protection Authority levy. New South Wales has kept it on, so the cost of tipping waste at waste stations in Sydney is about $200 a tonne, Queensland $15 a tonne. I've spoken any number of times to Michael Baird, to Duncan Gay, to Rob Stokes, getting nowhere. They've stuck in a 150-kilometre radius for transporting rubbish. Break the law, and they'll belt you with penalties. So, you can't cart rubbish more than 150 kilometres. Can you cart gas more than 150 kilometres? Can you cart milk into Queensland? Can't cart waste. Can you cart bananas into Queensland? You can't cart waste. The Baird government says, oh no, the problem is damage to the roads. If you've got a B-double truck with a capacity of 40 tonnes, and it's now $200 a tonne, that's $8,000 a truck, as opposed to the cost of $15 a tonne in Queensland, $600 a truck. $8,000 versus $600. Someone can't do any sums in Macquarie Street. And if the bloke has 60 trucks, he's now up for an extra $500,000, so he sacks people and goes broke. I spoke to Michael Baird, he told me he'd spoken to Duncan Gay. Duncan Gay told me he'd spoken to Rob Stokes. Talk about carting rubbish, they're piling it up in Macquarie Street. But it's worse than that, because Chris Grundy has ruffled a few feathers at the mob that should be supporting the truckies, the Waste Contractors and Recyclers Association of New South Wales, who have become prisoners of the big end of town. Have a listen to this story. Chris Grundy, good morning.
Good morning, Al.
They're not happy with you.
Oh, no, apparently I'm upsetting a few people for just speaking my mind.
That's it. You made the very valid point that it's okay to cart contaminated soils from Victoria, drive through New South Wales and dispose of the stuff in Queensland, but you can't transport waste.
That's right.
You can cart bananas or milk or gas, you can't transport waste. And then you had a call from the Waste Contractors and Recyclers representative complaining because you were on radio.
Well, he'd had various calls, obviously complaining about someone getting on and speaking their mind, as I was, which I'm entitled to.
You're only talking the truth.
Only talking the truth.
Not allowed to do that because you're a member of this Waste Contractors and Recyclers Association, and they want to shut you up, and you don't agree with the direction they've been taking. But, of course, the majority agree with you because they're not part of the big end of town, are they? The problem is you've got these outfits like Veolia and CETA who've got landfills in Sydney. Haven't they?
That's right.
And they want all the waste to be dumped to them so that they can make a big quid. And they've lobbied hard to stop the waste going to Queensland. They want it here where they can rip us all off.
Yeah.
Eh? And so this bloke, Tony Coury, let's name him, Khoury. You can ring on the open line too, Mr. Coury, if you like. He's from the Waste Contractors and Recyclers Association. Tony Coury tells you that I'm upsetting some people.
Look, Look, Tony's obviously doing his job. He's been
badly, representing the big end of town.
And like I said, speaking my point of view, I just find it hard that something that was completely legal has been made illegal, and I just don't see how it's justified. And
that's right.
It is a way. It's an issue that involves obviously a lot of smaller players in the market. But I mean, the other part that really annoys me is when I read documents, put in magazines like Inside Waste magazine saying that this is to help weed out unscrupulous operators. I mean, just because people were setting up their business venture doing that, which is completely legal, they're not illegal operators, but yet that's why it's been worded as ridiculous. And rogue operators. It's just very...
Absolutely. Well, you can cart, as you said, contaminated waste, you can cart bananas, you can cart gas. So here we are now, and this waste association, supposed to represent all its members who have industry problems. Here's an industry problem, something that was perfectly legal, taking the waste to Queensland is now illegal, and as a result, if you've got a B-double or whatever, you're up for $8,000 now as a cost, as opposed to $600. If you've got 60 of them, you're up for $500,000. People are out of work. You've got an association to represent the stupidity of this, but they are prisoners of outfits like CETA and Veolia, who are big contributors to the association, the Waste Contractors and Recyclers Association, and they're represented on the board, and the board tells this Tony Khoury what direction to take. And the only way you can get your voice heard is through people like me, because Chris is talking to me, and we give people an opportunity to talk and let people know what's going on. You've tried, Chris, to get onto the board of the Waste Contractors and Recyclers Association, but you missed out.
That's correct.
Now you're a thorn in their side.
Well,
and then the Environmental Protection Authority rings Khoury after you spoke to me on the radio last week saying, why is one of your members getting on the radio making us look bad?
That's correct.
Hey?
Yeah, that's correct.
And I only presume the other members are outfits like Veolia, the big mobs, who own the landfill. They want the waste being dumped here. That's the issue, isn't it?
That's correct, yeah.
So basically, this Khoury from the Waste Contractors and Recyclers Association is talking for the high end of town. What about the little fella? I mean, what's happened with this so-called 150-kilometre radius rule that's affecting the little bloke and added enormously to his costs?
Oh, it's driving them out of town.
Driving them out of town.
And as I said,
what's the bad government doing? Nothing.
As I said to you last week, why is it still okay to cart waste from Victoria, drive all the way through New South Wales and still tipping Queensland, but yet we can't go more than 150 k's?
That's it. Or you can cart milk from the Gippsland to Townsville, all the way through New South Wales.
Yes, that's right.
Hey? All right. We'll keep... Hey?
I just want to say one thing.
Yep.
I am a member of the Contractors Association, and look, they are very good with a lot of things that they do. It helps with a lot of information, and I think Tony does do a good job with a lot of things that he does. But it also, in my feeling and a lot of other people's feelings, is that they do look after the higher end of town.
Big end of town. And the Liberal government talks about small business, eh? They're not there when small business needs them. You hang on. We'll keep talking.
Thank you.
Ring me in the next 24 hours and let me know who else's feathers have been ruffled by talking to me today.
Not a problem.
All right, Chris.
Thanks, bud.
2 to 8.
And now...